seen from the last video, the throttle plates and throttle shaft are installed. The bushings went fine. We got everything nice and tight now without being too tight. That worked out pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do on the assembly is I'm going to go ahead and put my squirters in. And this kit gave me everything. Some of it's gone already because I have assembled one of the bows and metering plate. And I'm just going to show you the entire assembly by doing the other metering plate and bow, and then show you how everything else goes. Okay, before we put the squirters in, got these guys right here, new in the kit, and we better compare the old ones. Looks like they are. Are they the same? They look slightly different in the length. So, yeah, I don't know if you can. Let's see if I can show you that. Or is it longer? Yes, it is longer. The old one is longer. So I'm not going to use those new ones. I would like to, but the old ones gave me no trouble. All they are is the seat for the squirter. So I'm going to drop the old one in there just for now. Maybe I'll try the new ones later on after we get it running. Find this other one. Make sure it's good and clean. It's not dirty. And just drop this one in here. Okay, here is one of the squirters. I have number 31 squirters in this. These squirters are they have size numbers on them, telling how big this passage is. Kind of like with the jets, when you change the jetting, you use different numbered size jets. And these are 31s. And here's a little gasket right here. I'm going to put that on there. Make sure it don't fall off on me. And I got this on the wrong way. Here we go. Got a little slot right there. Fits in this little notch on the body. And that's all there is to that. Other squirter and gasket. And that's your squirters. Now we're going to go ahead and put everything together in a fuel bowl. I have as you can see, I have the float out. We want to put the float in first. This little pin slides right in here. Make sure all that's together and kind of centered up. That away. Got my screws already in it. It's easier to put in if you leave your screws. Go ahead and put your screws in first and let that spring hold it tight against there. This is the rear float because it has the cutouts for the jet extensions that I talked about earlier in other videos. There's a slot right in here, and that dowel pin that is centered up goes in that slot. If I can do this without messing up. And I missed the slot. No, I didn't. Okay. There we go. You gotta kind of push that. That. The whole idea is to line up the screw hose and the dowel pin with that slot. Kind of hard to do this in a way that you can see what I'm doing in here. There we go. Just kind of had to push it, force it against the spring and push that plate, mounting plate with these screws in it away from the float. That. Now we're going to go ahead and do the accelerator pump. This little orange diaphragm goes in that hole there. I'm going to put a little bit of Vaseline on it for lubricant. Vaseline is a good lubricant for stuff like this, because the gasoline, after you get it started up, will dissolve it immediately and it won't interfere with anything, give you any problems. And your engine will burn it. That slides in that little hole there, and you got to grab this tab, pull it out until that little ball there pops through the hole and it can't go anywhere. Now well, here's something I don't like. Probably supposed to do this anyway. Maybe some people don't. See how that's hitting that float? Now when this thing's full of fuel and when it's set at the correct level, that float's going to be sitting about like that. But I'll have to go ahead, cut this tab out above that ball that keeps that from sliding through, of course. That way it doesn't interfere with your float. It touches a little bit, but it's not kind of flopping around in there. Hopefully it won't cause any problems. And we got a new accelerator pump. We got to put a spring in first. Big side down, because that matches the bore. This goes right here. That's your accelerator pump diaphragm. Here's the cover. Got my screws right here. Okay, the next thing we need to do is put our needle and seat in. It gives it to you in this whole assembly here. Already got the rubber O-ring on it. Always put a little bit of lubricant on that O-ring so it'll slide in good. And stick it in there, screw it in. This kit also gives you new washers or seals. And they're all neoprene. Hopefully they'll seal good. But this nut here, this is the adjusting nut, and that adjusts your float level. You see right now it's way too high because I just started it. And as you screw this nut down, see that float start to move. And I want it about level. That may be a little bit too high, but that's good enough to get it started. And after you get it running, you can take the sight plug out and adjust it while it's running and under fuel pressure. And we got the screw that locks that down. They gave me a neoprene gasket for that. Like these kits, they give you all these new screws and nuts and everything. It makes it nice. And that just snugs down. And when I adjust the float level after I get it running, what you do is you put a 5/8 wrench on this nut, you loosen this screw, and then you turn it. If you want to lower the fuel level, you turn it clockwise. If you want to raise it, you turn it counterclockwise. And then when you get the desired fuel level, you'll be looking through the sight plug. You just tighten this screw back down on top of the nut, hold the nut in the right position. And that's all there is to that. Now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and put together the metering plate. Now on this metering plate, okay, our jets normally just screw right in these holes here, and that's the way it is on the front. It's fine like that. And if you remember, I mentioned this, I think I've already covered this, but I'm going to tell you again. These are the old jet extensions I used to use, and I've told you why We like to use jet extensions on drag cars because of fuel sloshing towards the rear. You don't want to be sucking air in the jets. And these old style jet extensions slide over these. You can see that doesn't fit very tight. That one could be tapped on a little better. The other one, I wish I could find it and show you, it was a lot looser. It's laying around here somewhere. But I bought these type jet extensions. They're screw-in types. They shouldn't give me that kind of trouble. If that was an issue. I'm not 100% sure if that one jet was laying, or jet extender was laying in the bottom of the fuel bowl when I disassembled it. But it sure did look like it. They both came off pretty easy when I knocked the fuel bowl off the carburetor during disassembly. So I don't want to tighten them too awful tight with a big wrench. Just tighten the jets into the extenders. These things are made of brass, so it's always a good idea to blow them out after you tighten them up. Because sometimes you kind of scrape a little bit of that soft brass off of there. Okay, there's the jets and extenders installed. Now I have a power valve plug. Alright, we've got our power valve plug, block off plug for where the power valve would normally go under a street version carburetor. Got it cleaned up. There's my new gasket. That's all you gotta do is make sure it's on that step. And I always like to put it on that step to make sure it stays there. Always turn this upside down and screw it in like that. Got out camera there, sorry about that. And once you fill its seat, you can flip it back the other way. You could also put a little bit of Vaseline on that gasket before you stick it on the block off plug also. But make sure that's tight, but not so tight that I strip it out. It would not be good. That's all your metering plate. Okay, I've already done the front side, but I've installed the arm that activates the accelerator diaphragm, accelerator pump, meaning this right here, and that just slides right on that pin there. And I put a little grease on the yellow cam you see there, which those are new too, so because like I told you, my others were melted. I think I told you that, not sure. Anyway, new spring clip comes with the kit. Let's see if I can do it with my fingers. It'll hurt a little bit, but that's okay. Yep, I got it on there. And that's all there is to that. We'll go ahead and put the rear metering plate on. Need a gasket. They gave me two sets of metering plate gaskets that are different. These are the ones that match my old ones, so we're going to go with them. Get this can of grease out of the way from where I greased up those little cans. And I'm going to go ahead and this is getting the gasket dirty. Alright, I want to go ahead and I'm going to put some Vaseline. These are supposed to be non-get stick gaskets, meaning if I have to take this apart, clean it off, I should be able to take it off without sticking. But I always like to put a little Vaseline on it. It doesn't keep it from sealing. I've never had any trouble. But it will make them come off easier if you do have to disassemble it. So you change the jets or something goes wrong. Stuff like that. Get that Vaseline out of there. I put a little bit too much. It was all going down in the holes and stuff. But just put that on there. Put this gasket out of my way. And really, if I do have to take this back off at all, which I shouldn't, because I've been running the same jetting in this thing since I first put a big block in this car 17 years ago, and this carburetor is what I bought for it. I shouldn't have to change jets, but really you would, when you change jets, really the only gasket that you don't want sticking and tearing off when you take the bowl off is this one that goes here. So we're going to Vaseline that up. And that's not going to want to stay. I know how to make it stay. Just put that screw in there temporarily. Keep it from going anywhere. And we're going to put some Vaseline on this gasket. We'll do just one side. And make sure I put it the right way on my fuel bowl. And the way you know that, it could go, I think it could go, well, yeah, it can only go on one way. First of all, one thing that it will tell you is there's a alignment pin right there in that hole right there, so you know that goes on the bottom. And you also want to make sure this little hole right here, that's a fuel passage. You want to make sure that it lines up with the hole on the gasket. So actually I could lay it on this way or that way. So there's that. And I gotta hold this still. So I got this fuel bowl on. I have to find a wrench. I don't have my wrench yet. Oops. See what I forgot to do? Make sure that it's positioned like that before you go to put your screws in. Okay, it's fighting me. Getting clumsy. Hang on, let's do this differently. Let's go ahead, put all this together, bring these screws through here, at least two of them. I'm sorry, I got out of camera. And yeah, we're just going to do that. This can get clumsy. I need to make a carburetor stand. Makes it a lot easier. There we go. That's acting better. And I'd have been a lot better off if I had my socket. And I do have a socket within reach. And I've already got my gaskets, the dampering gaskets, see those little white washers, on the boats. One more. And you want to torque them down evenly in a sequence, go kind of diagonal, which I'm just hand tightening for now, like that. Let's make sure everything's acting like it wants to look right. Yep. Make sure you can see. Put this camera pointed down at a low angle. Yep, looking good. Tighten that down. I think I'll throw a wrench over here, ratchet that is. Hopefully this thing makes this car act right again. From what little racing I've done this year, which is more than I've done in a long time, but still didn't show up, haven't been showing up every weekend, I thought I was going to have a really good year because my first time out, I got in the finals and won some money. And I did get down to 8 cars 2 other times. Got my entry fee back. So I thought this was going to be a good year because I was really doing good on the tree, but this car started acting up and not being consistent. Could not dial it in. So that's why we're doing all this work to it now. But this is the kind of stuff you got to fix when a car sits for 6 years. So car has spoiled me for too long. Okay, that's pretty much all I need to show you on assembly. The front is pretty much the same thing. And I'm not going to show you that again. So my goal tonight was to get this carburetor assembled and try it out tomorrow because I do have to get up at 4:30 a.m. and go to work tomorrow. So I'm going to pause the camera, and tomorrow I'm going to finish this tonight, and tomorrow we'll come out here and try this out. One thing I forgot to show you, I forgot to do on the metering plate. I forgot to put the air fuel mixture screws in, but that's okay because I can do that with it all assembled. But as you can see, it's all assembled, and I'm going to show you one more other adjustment you're supposed to make that's way off on this. Of course, I'll have to change it if I have to change the idle speed, but it's got to be closer than what it is. Well, it don't have to be. I'm going to show you anyway. But anyway, now the old original, it had a seal in there. It was a cork seal or gasket. They give us rubber ones. So how I did the other one, the rubber ones are a little trickier than the cork. They tend to screw into the cork ones easier. But I like to take that rubber O-ring and get it started, rolled over those threads. But I think I did like 2 or 3 threads from the bottom. It's like 1 thread, and then you just put it in there, and you got to push it until you feel the threads start to touch something. Screw that in a little more. Actually, let's back because it's got a seat down in there. It needs to. I tried sticking the washer in the hole first, seating it down in there and then putting the screw in, but I didn't really like the way it felt. It felt like maybe the threads were biting into that rubber O-ring, and I didn't want them any pieces of rubber getting into that passage. I think this works better. It looks like the washer. If I can find my flashlight real quick, I'll show you on video. You can't find anything fast. Things tend to disappear. Here we go. And it looks like, yeah, it's in there. The whole idea of it is to seal it off so that it doesn't have any vacuum leaks. And you want it to bottom out. You don't want to force it tight. As soon as you feel it start to bottom out. And I'm going to start with an adjustment of 1 full turn out. That may be too much. That's what I'm going to try. Do that again. Let's see, there's 1/2, 1 full turn. And we'll do the other side just like that, and that's all the assembly of it. Okay, I got a 7/16 and a 3/8. It's a fuel line wrench, but it'll work. And the 7/16 is for this bolt head down here at the bottom, and that. And this is a bolt. It's a bolt with a shank on it that goes up through this, and that nut. This is a poly-lock nut. As you can see, I got way too much play there. I think what most manuals will tell you on most poly carburetors, you want about a 15 thousandths clearance there when your idle is set. And as you can see, I got a lot more than that. I'm just going to guess. So to make that tighter, you loosen this nut up, and that spring pushes that bolt down towards that until it feels. I'm just going to guess this 15 thousandths thing. I'm not going to put a feeler gauge on it or anything. You don't want it too tight because at idle it can kind of vibrate and make it squirt gas out of the squirter. See, when your throttle opens, this pushes that down and it squirts gas out of the squirter. So I got that a lot closer. It's probably still a little looser than 15 thousandths, but that's how you adjust that. That's all I'm going to show you in assembly, and for the rest of this video we're going to try this out tomorrow night. But we have got it to where it's an easy start. Let's see if it does just like it did the last time. I'm going to start it up without even getting in the car and touching the gas pedal, which it is warmed up. I just started it up a few minutes ago. But when it was really acting bad, but it would not start up that easy. You had to pump it, then it would flood. That's much better. Now we have a good solid idle in drive. Didn't want to leave it running too long. My neighbors have been giving me funny looks because have been running this car in here and revving it up a lot lately. I don't usually do that a lot unless I'm having troubles. But I think we got this thing tuned in. And one thing, if you noticed, after I revved it up, the idle and park kind of stayed a little higher than it was than before I revved it up. One thing I did learn is that those using lighter springs and a distributor does change that. And when I first put the distributor in, if you remember in the video, I put the lightest springs possible. And since the carburetor is acting up, you couldn't really tell the difference in how it acted. But when I was having trouble tuning the carburetor in this past week, I tried the stiffest springs first of all, in the distributor, just to make sure that those loose springs weren't making those weights sling way out at idle and giving me trouble, which it shouldn't have, because I have run this advanced locked out. But the one thing I have noticed that with the lighter springs, I have the mediums in it now, that after you rev it up, it tends to not bring the weights back, I guess, all the way, because it does idle a little faster. But with this kind of cam and carburetor, if it's going to idle at 1600 or 1500 in park after I rev it up, that's really not a problem, because I like about 1000 RPM when I'm in drive, so I can bump it into the beams when I'm staging at the drag strip. So I'm going to call this an end to the 1050 Dominator repair or rebuild, and the next video will be me trying this out at the track. Hopefully this thing will run like it used to, at least be as consistent. And I mean, I know that before I put this thing away for 6 years, it was a little bit quicker, even though I had slowed it down. But we'll see if it starts running in the 40s in, you know, mediocre weather. But anyway, thanks for watching.